Oh. Sarvadharmasthapaktvam sarvadharmasvarupakaha acharyanam mahacharyo Ramakrishnaya te namaha. O establisher of all the faiths, embodiment of all the religions, the greatest teacher among all the teachers, O Sri Ramakrishna, my salutations to you. Sri Ramakrishna, having beautifully explained to us that how these worldly people, they are endowed with the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, how they behave. The people endowed with sattva, people endowed with rajas, people endowed with tamas. And then he also told us that the same gunas, the sattva, rajas and tamas, they can influence our attitude of devotion. How a sattvic bhakta will behave, how a rajasic bhakta will behave, how a tamasic bhakta will behave. And Sri Ramakrishna says, as far as the devotional practices are concerned, even the tamasic bhakti is not bad for that matter. Tamas is supposed to be the lowliest of the three gunas. But Sri Ramakrishna says the same tamas, when it is employed towards devotion, same tamas, when it is used as a tool, it is used as a resource to propitiate the Lord, to propitiate the Divine Mother, it also produces the same results what the sattvic bhakti or the rajasic bhakti would yield. Fight with God, fight with Mother. You have to give me. I have uttered your name. I have chanted your name. How can you keep the liberation away from me? How can you keep the mukti away from me? How much I have chanted your name? You cannot keep it, and Mother cannot keep it then. Mother cannot keep away the liberation towards her child. And then slowly Sri Ramakrishna tries to correlate these three gunas with the kind of activities that these Brahmo Samaj, the Brahmo devotees, they are engaged in. Then he said, this same tamas, you can also put it to a better use for doing good to others. Now you are all engaged in so-called doing good to others. Even use that tamas while doing good to others. And then he gave those two examples, one of the physician and another of the teacher. And he indicated of the three types of physicians and three types of teachers, the superior, mediocre and inferior. Sri Ramakrishna says the inferior physician, he will just tell the patient, okay, this is the medicine you have to take, and that's it. He won't even bother whether patient has taken the medicine, whether patient has understood his instructions of how to take the medicine. He thinks, okay, my job is over. I have told him to take this medicine. That is the inferior type of physician. Then the mediocre type of physician, he will talk in all the loving words. He will talk very affectionately with the patient. Oh, my dear patient, I have prepared this medicine specifically for you. You have to take it at these times. But there again, that is the end of the instructions. But at least he has made some effort, and therefore Sri Ramakrishna says that kind of physician is a mediocre physician. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, the physician who at times even uses tamas, he will ensure that the medicine reaches the system of the patient. He will force it down his throat, and if required, maybe he will put his knee on the chest of the patient and he will just pour the medicine into his mouth, forcing him to gulp and, ingest the medicine. So Sri Ramakrishna says, that I consider is the superior kind of physician. In fact, the way he is administering that medicine to his patient, it is not creating any harm. It won't injure the patient. On the contrary, it will be good for the patient. So that is the three types of physicians. And in the same way, there are three types of spiritual teachers also, Sri Ramakrishna says. The inferior type of teacher will just give an instruction to the disciple. This is your mantra, chant it 108 times. And that's it. The interaction is over. My duty is over as far as giving the spiritual instruction is concerned. And Sri Ramakrishna says that kind of teacher is the most inferior type of teacher. The mediocre teacher, he will again most lovingly keep on explaining to the disciple, it is good for you if you repeat it 108 times, the mantra that I have given to you. Do this, do that. And never follow whether the disciple is actually performing. So, he is a mediocre spiritual teacher. And who is the superior most? He will by force make the disciple undergo the spiritual practices. He will use the force. He will use harsh words. But he will see to it that all his instructions are meticulously followed. The teacher will also look towards the progress of the student. How is his disciple progressing on this path? So that is the most superior teacher, even if he employs the tamasic the imparting of the instructions to the disciple. And in that context, we had just shared Holy Mother Sri Sarda Devi's teaching to her disciple. She said, do you think even if this body lasts, I am going to get free out of my responsibility towards my disciples? Even if one of my disciples is not liberated, I won't get mukti myself. That is the responsibility that the spiritual teachers, they own for their disciples. Now, that is the best kind of disciple, teacher, the guru that Sri Ramakrishna says. One who really takes the responsibility of the spiritual upliftment, of the enlightenment, of the illumination of their disciples. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna has been talking to the gathering of the Brahmo devotees. And one Brahmo devotee possibly thought, here we have the greatest teacher among all the teachers. Acharyanam Mahacharyo, let me clarify all my doubts. So this Brahmo devotee, he starts asking questions. He starts asking questions to get rid of all the doubts that he has. And in the process, we also get benefited listening to the answers given by Sri Ramakrishna to his questions. So this Brahmo devotee asks, Sir, has God forms or he has none? Now this is a confusion most of the people they have. Because some people say God is with form, some people say God is without form. Even the spiritual practices for both these kind of approaches, they totally vary. They totally differ. And then a devotee gets confused. Which path? Whether should I believe in God with form or should I believe God without form? And Sri Ramakrishna, he clarifies the doubts beautifully through his answers, through his examples. Sri Ramakrishna says, no one can say with finality that God is only this and nothing else. Nobody can say with surety that God is with form or God is without form. Nobody can say for sure. And then he says he is formless. And again he has forms. That is the beauty of God's Leela. He is formless, but again he has form. For the bhakta, he assumes the form. Now God is in fact formless. But for the bhakta, for the devotee, one who adopts the Dvaita mode of worship, for that devotee, for the sake of that devotee, God assumes form. God takes the form of Rama, God takes the form of Krishna, God takes the form of Kali, Durga. All this happens because of that intense devotion the devotee has for the form aspect of God. But he is formless for the jnani. For the bhakta, he has a form. But for the jnani, he is formless. For him who looks on the world as mere dream, jnani looks at the world as mere dream. Jnani follows the approach of neti, neti, not this, not this. Everything that jnani comes across, this is not real. That process of discrimination to analyze between what is real, what is unreal. And after negating all the existences surrounding jnani, this is not Brahman, this is not God, this is not God, this is not God. Then the jnani comes to the final conclusion, oh, this is God. But then, having understood what is God, he cannot express. The jnani cannot say, unlike bhakta. Bhakta can tell, oh, my Kali is black in color. She adorns the garland of human skulls. She has got a sword in her hand. Bhakta can describe the form that the Lord, the Mother, has shown him. My Krishna is so beautiful. In the Gopala form, my Krishna is just squatting on the floor and raised his one hand with the butter. That is what Krishna. He will have beautiful, a feather of a peacock tied in his hair. All these kind of expressions the devotees can express for the forms that the Lord has taken for their sake. But for jnani, once jnani realizes what is the ultimate, there is no way of expression. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, do you know what I mean? Think of Brahman, existence-knowledge-bliss absolute, the Satchidananda as shoreless ocean. There is no beginning, there is no end, there is just unending, vast, infinite body of water. Consider Satchidananda Brahman to be that ocean. Now, Sri Ramakrishna says, through the cooling influence of bhakta, as it were, through the cooling influence of the love of devotees, this water, it gets solidified into ice forms here and there, the water of the ocean. With the cooling influence of the love of bhakta, of the love of devotees, this water gets solidified and we see those icebergs. That is the form of God, form of the formless God. In other words, God now and then assumes various forms for the sake of his lovers, for the sake of his devotees, and reveals himself to them as a person. But with the rising of the sun, with the rising of the sun of knowledge, these ice forms again they melt back into the water of the ocean. Once the sun of knowledge comes up the horizon, once the aspirant gets to know neti, 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 even if he is a dualist initially, then what is Lord and what is me? The me gets merged into the Lord. Then the rise of the sun of knowledge, these ice blocks, they melt and again the water becomes one with the water of the ocean. Then one does not feel anymore that God is a person, nor does one say what kind of form God has. It becomes expressionless. What he is cannot be described. And who is there to describe? If I am different from him, I can describe. But if I am one with him, how can I describe? There is no duality to describe something else. Then I have merged with the Lord. Then the salt doll, like the example Sri Ramakrishna had given, the salt doll, as it enters the sea waters, immediately it merges with the sea and there is no separate identity. There is no different existence for the salt doll. Salt doll just merges with the sea water. There is a sign, and then Sri Ramakrishna says, there is a sign of perfect knowledge. How to know that man has attained perfect knowledge? Through the process of whether bhakti or through the process of jnana. Whichever way a devotee or aspirant travels, ultimately it is the dawn of knowledge. Through bhakti also he attains knowledge. Through path of knowledge, of course, he is attaining knowledge. And then Sri Ramakrishna says that what is the symptom that this person has got the knowledge? Then he says there is a sign of perfect knowledge. Man becomes silent when it is attained. When a person attains perfect knowledge, there is total silence. There is no language. There are no words which can then describe that experience. That experience is only to be experienced, only to be felt, only to be realized. And this, again, here Sri Ramakrishna has quoted that example of salt doll, which may be likened to the salt doll, which melts in the ocean of Satchidananda and becomes one with it. Not a slightest trace of distinction is left then. The salt doll has become one with the sea water. The I has totally merged in that I. How can I describe what is that? As long as his self-analysis is not complete, as long as the self-realization is not complete, man argues with much ado. Till the time he is unripe, till the time the person is unripe, the spiritual aspirant hasn't reached the end, he will keep on reasoning. Oh, God is like this, God is like that, God has form, God doesn't have form. They will keep on deliberating on such issues unnecessarily. But once the knowledge dawns, once they get to know what is the reality, once that self-realization is attained, then not a word, not a single word can come out of the person. It is total silence because the salt doll has merged with the sea water. When the empty pitcher is filled with water, till when it will make that noise? Only till the time if we dip the pitcher, empty pitcher, in a, say, a lake, in a pond, and there, as water enters, as air comes out, it will make that bud 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 sound. Till when it happens, Sri Ramakrishna says, only till the time there is some air left in that pitcher. The moment all that air is gone, the moment the pitcher is filled to the brim with water, then all that noise stops. Once that I gets out, once that ego gets out, then the entire pitcher is filled with water. Then there is no more sound. There is no more that gurgling noise which comes. That is the total peace. That is the total bliss. So Sri Ramakrishna says that all trouble and botheration comes to an end when the I dies. This I is creating all the problems. This I, unripe I, which is making all the distinctions, which is making me and you separate from each other, separate from one another, that is creating all the botheration and troubles. You may indulge in thousands of reasonings, but still the I doesn't disappear. And then Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful solution to this. This I, if it is not disappearing, then how to treat this I so that I can reach the end? Then Sri Ramakrishna says, make this wretched I the servant of the Lord. Make this wretched I the child of the mother, and all your troubles will be solved. Change this unripe I to the ripe I. Change this kacha ami, he used to say, kacha ami, the unripe I. Convert it to paka ami by adopting that attitude of servant and master, by adopting that attitude of devotee and the deity, by adopting that attitude of child and mother. So this is how Sri Ramakrishna has started teaching this Brahmo devotee and clarifying his doubts whether the God has form or God doesn't have form. It is both, Sri Ramakrishna says. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swamiji.